I didn't change my. I had the same fleet for since I got in 2011.
Outside.
What's going on? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ordinary Council Meeting 4548 of Hunters Hill Council. Could I ask you please to be upstanding? I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and water of Hunters Hill, and Council pays its respects to elders present and emerging. We're joined tonight by Julie Grancher, who will be delivering the prayer.
Can everyone stand?
If you'd like them to sit.
You can sit. Yeah. Well, yes. Thank you, Mayor. My name is Julie Grancher, and most of you will know that I am the chaplain next door on the block. I'm the community chaplain, and which is where we have our beautiful church, which next year will be 150 years. And can you just say that word again?
Sesquicentenary.
Yes, that's next year. So I'm expecting we're going to be inviting you all to attend some of our functions next year. And so we have the cafe, the sunroom. And, you know, I was just thinking about the cafe today because lately you may have noticed, some of my friends here noticed that we've been very short on staff. And I've been roped in to help. I've made some coffees, not that good. But, you know, my point is to say that I keep that cafe open along with Alex as well, because we love the community. And that cafe really plays an important role in the community. People come, we have lonely people that meet. It's a hub. It's where kids come before school. Their parents even leave them there in my care. We play games. A lot of things happen on that block. And that's why we keep that cafe open, even without, you know, full good staff. And so I just really want to let you know that I'm on the same page with you, because you're all here because you love your community, and I'm the same. We're the same over just across the way. So, you know, we really want to thank you for all your hard work. We know that it's not easy when you're working with people, right? And sometimes people don't thank you, but we thank you. So thanks for all your hard work. So we're going to pray. I'm just going to, you know, ask the Lord to bless tonight. I know that not everyone is of the same faith. That's no problem at all. We have differences in faith and beliefs, but we are all in one. We're united because we love the community of Hunters Hill. So let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for our city, our elected officials, the businesses, churches, families, and volunteers that make our suburbs such a great place to live. And I pray for tonight's meeting, give the council members wisdom, insight, and guidance as they deliberate on the agenda in front of them. And I pray that every decision will be for the benefit of this community. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you also to Alex, Pastor Alex is in the back there, and for all the work you both do for the Hunters Hill community that's not overlooked. So thank you to both of you for all of your service as well. Councillors, we have no apologies. Councillor Lane is joining us via Zoom link. He's a little under the weather, so I did say there is something going around, so welcome, Councillor Lane. The proceedings of all council meetings in open session, including all debate and addresses by the public, are recorded and webcast live on council's website for the purpose of facilitating community access. Webcast archives are stored and available to the public on council's website. The recordings may be disclosed under the provisions of the Government Information Public Access Act of 2009, the GIPA Act. Members of the public attending the council meeting may have their image, voice and personal information, including their name and address, recorded, publicly broadcast and archived, or as an observer or other interested party, members of the public consent to the use of their image, voice and personal information. Councillors, we don't have any apologies. Are there any declarations of interest? No, we'll move on to confirmation of the minutes of ordinary meeting 4547 held 28 July 2025. Moved, Councillor Williams, seconded Councillor Tanous Sleeman. Any discussion? Councillor Kassab.
I just want to make a note that the first item, the confirmation of the June meeting, my name's there. However, I was not in attendance at the time.
Yes, we'll correct that for the record. And I did make a small admission. Councillor Kassab had contacted me to say that she was running 5 minutes late, so I should have probably read that into the record at the time. But we'll correct that for the record for you, Councillor Kassab. Thank you. Any further discussion on this item, councillors? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Now move to to Merrill Minute 2.1, to acknowledge the passing of an individual who's made a valuable contribution to Hunters Hill community and society, being Cole Joy AM, and I'll read the report. It is with sadness that I share the passing of iconic Hunters Hill resident Cole Joy. He passed away on the 5th of August, aged 89 years old. Born on 13th of April 1936 as Colin Frederick Jacobson, he rose to fame as a pioneer Australian rock and roll and pop singer-songwriter. His career spanned more than 60 years, starting his music career in 1957 in his brother Kevin Jacobson's band, the KJ Quintet. They later changed their name to the Cole Joy and the Joy Boys. In 1959, their second single, Bye Bye Baby, made a top spot in the Sydney charts, and 3 further top 10 hits followed. Cole was the first Australian to have a #1 record Australia-wide for his single "Oh Yeah Uh-huh." In the 1960s, Joy established an influential management, publishing and recording business with his brother Kevin. Cole discovered the Bee Gees in 1961. When he saw them in Surfers Paradise. He brought them to Sydney and signed them to Joy Music. In 1973, his single "Heaven Is My Woman's Love" became a national #1. In 1981, he was appointed a member of the Order of Australia for his entertainment and philanthropic work. The Australian Recording Industry Association, ARIA, paid tribute to Joy, who was among the first inductees to the ARIA Hall of Fame. From music to TV, publishing to concert promotion, artist management and live performances, Cole Joy made a remarkable contribution to Australian music for more than 6 decades, ARIA Chief Executive Officer Annabelle Hurd said. At the time when the local industry was dominated by the US and UK artists, he proved that Australians would embrace local artists and local music. Cole was a guest speaker at Hunters Hill Council's Anzac ceremony in 2017, where he shared stories of his visit to Vietnam in August of 1966 with the Joy Boys to entertain the Australian troops. Cole and his band performed at New Dat with 17-year-old singer Little Paddy as the Battle of Long Tan began nearby. Cole said that troops appreciated having a reminder of life back home, taking them away from the conditions that they had found themselves in. He ended his speech with a rendition of "Bye Bye Baby" playing the ukulele. Cole is survived by his wife, Dallas, their children, Clayton and Amber, and grandchildren, Mads, June and Beau. May he rest in peace. Councillors, is there any other speakers to this Merrill Minute? Councillor Williams.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you for that Merrill Minute. I think it covers very well his contribution to both local and international music industry and his incredible talent in being able to entertain. On a local level, I have association with him from about 1987 when I first got on council, and he was always generous with his time, very kind and very engaged in his local community. And even after his serious accident in the 90s, he still came to functions and still entertained people to the best of his ability. I do recall just recently an a Rotary function where he came along with his ukulele, and he actually donated the ukulele to the local cause. So he's always been willing and keen to be involved in our local community. And from a personal note, we grew up in the same suburb. He was a bit older than me, but I can recall the days that the community was abuzz with Little Paddy and Sandy Scott and all those groups around his house, or his family's house. So an absolutely outstanding individual, made an enormous contribution to the music industry and to our own local community. So I think the community is lesser as for his loss.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any further discussion on this Merrill minute? If not, I'll put the Merrill minute. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. We now move to Merrill minute item 2.2. Congratulations to Huntersville Local Senator Dr. Jess Collins on her election to the Federal Senate. I'll read the report. Local Huntersville resident Dr. Jess Collins was elected as Liberal Senator for New South Wales in July, and we are in the process of confirming that she is likely to be the first local from Huntersville LGA elected to the Federal Senate. On the 8th of July 2025, she was also appointed as Opposition Deputy Whip. Serving a 6-year term, Jess made her maiden speech to the Senate on the 30th of July, which was attended by the member for Lane Cove, Councillors Kassab, Tanus Sleeman, Bagara and myself. Her passion for international policy and specifically our Pacific Island neighbours and global development is clear. Coupled with her career experience in policy, I look forward to seeing the work she will produce in the area and her continued advocacy to strengthen Australia's national security in the Pacific Island region. Dr. Jess Collins was a project director of the Australian PNG Network and a research fellow at the Pacific Islands program at the Lowy Institute. Prior to joining the Institute, Jess completed a PhD on the resettlement of refugees from Myanmar and a master's degree in global development. Her honours project involved research with Samoan communities in Australia, and her undergraduate studies focused on Pacific Island communities. Jess is a New Zealand-born Australian and moved to Sydney from Queensland when she was 13 years old. Raising 4 kids with her husband Ben, Jess is also passionate about ensuring that Australia's family policy framework is reformed. In her maiden speech, Senator Collins said that family is the glue to a cohesive society and a strong nation. We're a nation of families, not individuals. When families grow, Australia prospers, and we should be incentivising that. She also thanked the member for Lane Cove, Anthony Roberts, and said she was inspired by him to represent New South Wales as he had represented our area here in Lane Cove and Huntersville. It's great to see Huntersville represented in the Federal Senate, and I look forward to seeing Jess's contributions to make an impact on our country. I'm sure there will be plenty of opportunities for us to work with Jess on local issues and ask her to be an advocate on our behalf in the Federal Senate. Congratulations to Senator Dr. Jess Collins, and well done on this outstanding achievement. Councillors, is there any discussion on this Merrill minute? Councillor, yes, Councillor Tanus Lehman.
Thank you. In my years in human resources, I've learned to distinguish between those who succeed by circumstance and those who succeed by merit. Senator Jess Collins, in her maiden speech, demonstrated beyond doubt that her place in the Senate is earned through merit, not as a result of a quota, but through intellect, perseverance, and an uncommon clarity of vision. What struck me most was not only the breadth of his experience, but the measured and intelligent way she communicated it. She reminded us that it's not how you win these things, it's how you lose them. That observation, simply yet profound, speaks to a quality that defines true leadership. The capacity to withstand failure, to learn from it, and to persist with dignity. I've met countless people who present well on the surface, but only rare few reveal the resilience that Senator Collins overtly possesses. Her politics are not theoretical abstractions, but grounded in lived experience. She speaks with conviction about the importance of family policy, noting that family is the glue to a cohesive society and the backbone of a strong nation. This is not a baseless appeal to conventions, but a recognition, born of her own years as both a mother and a professional, that strong families underpin strong communities, and that governments have a duty to ensure policy reflects this truth. On matters of national security, too, she displayed a sophistication that belies her short tenure. When she declared that the most powerful weapons we have in are our people in uniform, she reminded us that our policy must never lose sight of the human element. She spoke not as someone repeating a party line, but someone who has been alongside service members, seen their sacrifices and understood the weight of their duty. Her call for investment not only in defence hardware, but in the well-being of those who serve is both astute and deeply humane. Equally impressive was her articulation of Australia's role in the Pacific. By advocating for a Pacific regiment by emphasising the value of remittance and the need to ease financial burdens on Pacific Islander workers. She demonstrated what can only be recognised as strategic empathy and understanding that regional strength lies not in dependency but in partnership and bipartisan relationship. That kind of vision reflects a politician who is thinking not only of today's issue but tomorrow's stability. I've heard many politicians' speeches in my time, and most are competent. Some are respectable. But Senator Collins' speech was distinguished by its clarity, its depth, and its moral seriousness. She was not tentative, not overly dramatic. She was articulate, purposeful, and persuasive. She chose her words carefully, but she also spoke with sincerity and earnestness. And that combination is rare. As I listened, it became very clear to me that Senator Collins represents the best of what political figures could offer. She is a woman of substance who has always crystallised why she is the right person for this role and why she has a significant future ahead of her. In my profession, I've long said that you do not measure leadership in titles, but in temperament, and Jess Collins has already shown us both. So when this council acknowledges her today, we are not just merely offering a courtesy. We are affirming our recognition of a leader who will shape the debate of this nation with intellect, empathy, and courage. I can see not only a capable senator, but a great woman, one whose contributions will extend far beyond this moment. Thank you, Jess Collins.
Thank you, Councillor Denise Lehman. Councillors, any further discussion on this item? Councillor Kassab. I will also say that Senator Collins did pass on her apology. She is on duties in Canberra this week and will be next week during sitting, but I'm fairly certain that she might be tuning in.
Thank you.
So make it good.
Yeah, that's why I went before. It is an honour and privilege to stand tonight to acknowledge the newly elected Senator Jess Collins. Jess is a woman of deep conviction, fierce intelligence, and boundless compassion. She is not only a senator, but more importantly, a mother of 4 young children. Balancing the responsibilities of nurturing a family while stepping into the world of politics is no small achievement, and Jess has done it with grace and determination. Jess's election was not granted, it was earned, democratically pre-selected, chosen to be our voice in Canberra. That makes her victory all the more meaningful. Jess stands not for herself alone, but as a representative of those who believe in her courage, her capacity, and her integrity. On a personal note, I am so incredibly proud and fortunate to call Jess a friend and an almost neighbour. I admire and appreciate her ability to always be a phone call away, no matter the time or day. I was honoured to be present as Jess delivered her maiden speech in Canberra. She left us all with much to ponder, whilst effortlessly embodying the qualities of a true leader. With Senator Jess Collins in Parliament, we can be confident that the future will be shaped with compassion, courage, and conviction. Congratulations, Senator Jess Collins. I wish you every success.
Thank you, Councillor Kassab. Any further discussion, councillors? Councillor Vergara.
I couldn't say it better than Councillor Denise Lehman and Councillor Kassab, so I'll add my crumbs, please. As the Mayor said, I was fortunate to attend Senator Collins's maiden speech in person. Instead of providing a bioepic, platitudes about any political party, the latest progressive cause, union, family, or comrades, Senator Collins spoke about the things that she wants to achieve for Australia, for the Australian people, and for the region. It is an ambitious agenda informed by personal experience, untethered by a political cause. It's informed by professional training as an anthropologist and an understanding of the human condition as a mother of 4 young children. Senator Collins advocates for a family policy framework that is fit for purpose and that puts the family at the centre. She advocates for tax reform to allow for families to aggregate marginal tax rates and tax-free thresholds for households that increase proportion to the number of children. She wants to reverse the insidious effect of childcare subsidies by replacing them with tax deductions that allow parents to choose in-home care without being penalised. She advocates for comprehensive national security strategy that has an honest conversation with the Australian people about the internal and external threats that face us, and then a defence force that is funded to address those threats. She wants a competitive geoeconomic strategy, not muted by red tape, but one that delivers economic sustainability for our Pacific neighbours and productivity for Australia. I can say that we are fortunate to have Senator Collins as a member of the Australian Senate, and we are proud to have her as a member of the municipality of Hunters Hill.
Thank you, Councillor Vergara. Councillors, any further discussion on this item? As I say, I have not found evidence to the contrary that we've had another senator in Hunters Hill. I don't know, Councillor Williams, if you might know, or I might target.
I'm not aware of any.
Yeah, I might target that.
Shorter than
The Federation. But I think we might even task the Historical Society to have a look at that, because it would be significant as a milestone to have the first Liberal senator who's living right here in Hunters Hill. Councillors, if there's no further discussion, I'll put the mayoral minute. All those in favour? Against? That is carried, I think, unanimously. Councillor Lane? Yes. Thank you. Councillors, congratulations, Jess, if you are watching, by the way. Councillors, we now move to item 2.3, commissioning, which is another mayoral minute, commissioning of a public art bust of William Pugenet, and I'll read the report. I'm pleased to share that I will be unveiling a new public art bust of local artist William Pugenet on Friday, 29th of August, with the Hunters Hill Historical Society. The Historical Society contacted Council late last year seeking seed funding for this important public art project. I'm delighted to see the finished work as it celebrates our area's history, art and culture, and the wonderful identities that lived in our community. I'd like to thank particularly local resident Frank Pareca for his incredibly generous contribution of $8,100 to commission the work, along with the $4,000 contribution from Council's Community Grant Fund. I think that might be $18,000, but I'll get that double checked. The Pugenet bust was sculpted by Sydney artist Jerry Colley and will be placed outside the Hunters Hill Museum next to the bust of our other significant local artist, Nora Hyson. Pugenet was an Australian landscape painter who lived in Hunters Hill when he moved to Sydney in 1880, where he resided until his death. Born in Hobart in 1836, William first worked as a cartographer for the Tasmanian government. The Pugenet family subsequently moved to Hunters Hill and built two houses in Avenue Road, Cota and Saint-Onge. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that one, where William had an art studio built, which is still standing there today. William Pugenet spent most of his life in Hunters Hill painting scenes including the Langcove River, Nepean, Darling and the Hawkesbury. In 1875, his striking landscape of Mount Olympus in Tasmania was the first oil painting acquired through the public subscription by the Art Gallery of New South Wales. In 1901, William won the prestigious Wynne Prize for landscape painting of Thunderstorm on the Darling. By the end of the century, 1899, William Pugenet was regarded as the leading Australian-born landscape artist. He died in Hunters Hill in 1914 and was buried in the Field of Mars Cemetery. I know that I did thank them earlier, but I'd just like to particularly pay tribute and thank members of the Hunters Hill Historical Society that have put a lot of time and effort into the commissioning of this work. It's a testament to the work that they do, that they were able to coddle this all together, get the funds together, commission the artwork, and now on Friday we'll be unveiling it. So congratulations to them. For the councillors that were able to attend, we did just have a quick update from the Historical Society, and there's some exciting projects on the horizon there, but significantly when it comes to William Pugenet, they do have a painting of his, which would be significant in terms of value, but was in need of restoration, and they did also raise the funds, and I think council might have contributed too, but raised the funds to restore that painting, which is now hanging in the museum. So congratulations to them, particularly for not only the commissioning of this bust, but their initiative in honouring this local artist. Councillors, is there any further discussion on this item? No, I'll put the mayoral minute. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Councillors, we now move to item 4.1, update on Clarks Point Reserve and Morts Reserve Plan of Management. Is there a mover? Moved Councillor Kassab, seconded Councillor Prieston. Sorry. It's the first time you put your hand up tonight, Councillor Prieston. You got me out of sorts. Councillor Kassab.
I sent through an amendment.
Yes. We'll put it up on the screen.
Are you moving the amendment?
So you're moving an amended motion?
Yeah.
Yep. That the report be received and noted that council endorse the formation of a community advisory group. Council nominate one council representative for the community advisory group, and that for the council seek representation from the following: 2 community representatives, 2 local commercial operators, 1 from the Huntersville Sailing Club, 2 council officers, and 1 officer from the Harbour Trust. Yes?
Yes.
Councillor Prieston, are you okay with that amended motion?
Yeah, I guess.
Yes, okay. Councillor Kassab, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, please. I'll just briefly speak to provide some clarity. So, as we have a number of committees in council that represent the broad spectrum of the municipality, from Bushland Management Committee to the now called Traffic Forum, amongst many others. Each of them play a vital role in what we do here and the decisions that we make. And it would be remiss of us to not take on their feedback regarding this, the new plan of management, as we move forward. So through the motion that I have put together, with the removal of the 1 representative from the Bush Management Advisory Committee, which I also think would be a very small, I guess, perspective of the committee, given there are a number of members, that there be a standing item on the agenda with the new community advisory group, for them to discuss feedback from all of the council's committees to ensure the committees of council are represented appropriately. And obviously mechanics of that can be looked at. I also note, when I look at the list of proposed members, that no members have been suggested for inclusion from the local commercial operators which occupy significant land within the Clarks Point and Morts Reserve. It would be remiss of us to not provide the opportunity for 2 local commercial operators to be involved in the process. Their inclusion will be instrumental in ensuring we create a cohesive and collaborative space for all invested parties.
Thank you, Councillor Kassab. Councillor Prieston, do you have a question?
Yeah, could I ask a question through you, Mr. Mayor, to the mover of the motion? Would you consider including the chair of the Bushland Management Advisory Committee in the list of representatives?
Given that the councillor moving the motion is the chair of the Bushland Advisory Committee.
Not forever, like.
Yeah. But this is not a forever. This is a project-specific
Yeah,
committee, so it's only going to be formed for the duration of the plan of management process. Sorry, councillor.
Do you not want a representative from that committee on there?
I think what councillor Kassab is saying is that she'll raise it at a BMAC level, at Bushland Management Advisory Committee level. That's what you're saying?
Yes,
yeah.
Each of the committees will have the opportunity to have feedback brought to that committee, to the advisory group.
Councillor Bagara.
Sorry, I don't understand the answer to the question.
Can I talk then? That might assist.
Sure.
Can I move an amendment or propose an amendment?
Yep.
Which is number 0.5.
Sorry, can we propose it before we have to write it out? Yes.
Okay, it is that there be a standing agenda item for council committees to submit feedback.
To this committee?
Yes. So that way, because I think bushland management is not the only committee that would be interested. Yeah. Events, sustainability, traffic. So I think it'd be more appropriate, rather than singling out any particular advisory committee of council, for there to be a process for all relevant committees to provide feedback to this working group or.
I mean, I agree with you, but
So that's my proposed amendment.
An
Councillor,
opportunity for all of them.
Councillor Kassab and Preston, are you comfortable with that proposed amendment to be added?
Well, that is essentially what I did say. It's just formalising it in the motion.
Yeah,
Yes, are you comfortable with that?
provided it's an opportunity and not a mandate.
Yes.
Each.
No, that's. I think that's how it's written. So
Yeah.
that's good. So your wording again, Councillor Vergara.
That there be a standing agenda item for council committees to submit feedback.
It can just be brought to each of the relevant committees, and they can provide feedback or a submission, or probably just feedback
If they like.
to this committee. Yeah,
Yeah.
if they want, if they like.
But if the agenda item's there and the committee's got feedback, if that's where it is it.
Yeah.
Would you consider some wording just to make it clear that it's not an obligation?
It's just an agenda item.
Yeah, it's not an obligation.
Yeah.
It's not. It wouldn't be an obligation.
There's nothing arising under the item, nothing arising.
Yeah. Councillors, are you comfortable with that amendment?
Yeah.
Yes. Councillor Preston?
Yes, I don't know why it's funny, but yes.
Yes. Councillors, and it's Councillor Kassab spoken to it. Is there any speakers against the motion? Councillor Williams?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a backward step to drop the Bushland Advisory Committee out of the agenda, albeit it has an opportunity through 5 on the new version of the motion. The Bushland Management Advisory Committee has representatives and is particularly involved in Kelly's Bush, which abuts this area. But more importantly, trees and bushland has been one of the major contentious issues in the community there in relation to that precinct. I think it's important that they be given the opportunity to have direct input to this process. I do note that it is a short-term group, and normally council would term it as a working group as opposed to an advisory group or a committee. Advisory committees have a long tenure, and normally we would call them a working group, which gives it a much more hands-on approach to the business that it's being asked to do. But I believe that the original motion is correct, and I would foreshadow that if this motion is lost.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any speakers for the motion? Councillor Vergara.
When we attended Alfred Street in relation to the tree vandalism, one of the residents was Richard White, and I provided the original 20 years ago, 2004 plans of management documents because he was a member of that consulting committee back then. So it's probably just a comment that if we could reach out to him as someone who's got immense knowledge, background, and immediate interest being local, and perhaps seek an invitation to invite him to be express interest to be a community member, that would be great. So that's Richard White. I
think Richard would be good if he'd be willing to do it. Yes. Councillors, any speakers against the motion? Councillor Lane. So you had to be. It's handy putting your hand up because I do notice it out of the corner of my eye. So thank you.
It would be hard otherwise. Look, I agree with Ross. I think that the original motion is closer to what would be required to prepare a new plan of management. The objectives of the plan of management are in the paper, and that reflects the fact that plans of management, particularly where we're talking about large pieces of Crown land and adjacencies, are not to be substantially commercialised, and that's something that we've had to look at on a number of sites. Having 25% of the membership as existing commercial operators will naturally change the conversation to one about protection of an existing swathe of green space into one about commercialising that swathe of green space. And I think that that's inconsistent with the intention of plans of management. It's not to say that commercial operators couldn't valuably contribute in some small way, but that way should be proportionate to the commercialisation that's sought for for large holdings like this. What we don't have on the current membership is anyone representing the Green Estate at all. Now, you could argue whether or not the Bushfire Management Committee is the right committee or not. I don't have a strong opinion, but the fact is what we're doing is we're vacating anyone that represents the Green Estate at all, anyone that might be able to comment on whether or not certain uses are compatible with an area that has some extent natural vegetation, and replacing it with a purely commercial model. And I don't think that reflects a public-minded plan of management process. So I would support Ross in foreshadowing the original motion if this one's defeated.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Kassab, question?
Yeah. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to whoever is appropriate, might be Annie. Is there, and with the council officers that are included, has it been decided as to who those members would be?
Through the General Manager, I assume
Not at this stage.
Ms. Goodman, that it would be you in
Um,
some form, but
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll answer that. I have had discussions with our bushland coordinator, Jackie Bulmer. We felt that both herself and myself would be best suited, but we haven't clarified that with the acting general manager as yet. I'd also like to clarify that the title of this group, the Community Advisory Group, is the same title that we used for the Riverglade Reserve Plan of Management, and a very similar structure which worked perfectly well when we updated that plan of management. And I'd also like to add that the formation of this group may not be substantive, but I can guarantee that engagement will be substantive, and it will not exclude other people or groups from commenting on this process or us reaching out to them, the greener groups, etc., other state government bodies, specific community members, other groups that they've been to council. So I don't have a comprehensive list of stakeholders, but I can certainly pop that together for councillors and brief you on that at a later date.
thank you, Mr. Goodman. Councillors, is there any further speakers for the motion? Against the motion? Right of reply, Councillor Kassab? No, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried with the dissent of Councillor Williams and Lane. I'll now move to item 4.2, Remnant Lands Project Update. There's a recommendation. Is it moved? Moved, Councillor Kassab. Seconded, Councillor Vergara. Any discussion, Councillor Kassab? Fairly stock standard. Any discussion on this item, councillors? Councillor Lane, sorry. Handy with the hand again.
Trying, sorry, too many buttons. And I'm a bit slow today, as you've seen. Sorry, just give me a minute. There are a couple of concerns I have, and these are more procedural concerns. So I don't know if they form questions or comments, but
if you want to form those into questions, the General Manager is, and we do have the
okay, sure. So I was looking at the plan of, sorry, not the plan, the policy that we approved only a month ago. And within that policy, it refers to the manner in which we go through this remnant lands process, and it sets up a two-stage process. And here we go. So in 4.2, it says, before passing a resolution to dispose of land, council must have complied with the clauses 3.1, 3.3, okay, and determined by way of a resolution that the land to be disposed is surplus to current and future needs of council, etc. And on the time that was proposed, when Jeff reported on that one, he said that the revised, a review of all previously identified land being assessed was scheduled to be listed for discussion this meeting. However, due to the complexity, blah, 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 it would be brought to a subsequent meeting. And so there are only 3 that have been approved. But where I struggle is when I read this, it says that these have been identified as suitable for disposal. So we seem to have jumped from last month saying that they would be assessed and brought for assessment to now saying that we we're jumping into the next stage, which is suitability for disposal. I think we need to do 3.1 and 3.3 first.
Councillor, I can jump in there. The recommendation part 2 is that further reports be prepared and reported to council for consideration.
Yes.
So it's not no determinations being made in this. This is essentially.
Yes, I understand that reading. I think that the policy is quite clear in setting up a two-stage process where council goes through a process of determining whether or not the land is surplus or not surplus before going through the process of determining whether or not to dispose. And it's been written in that way, I think, quite well. And I think rather than going through some sort of legal magic to try and make 4.2 read differently to how it reads, that since we went and agreed to a policy that has two different clauses with two different steps, the first one, which is to work out whether or not the land is surplus, and then the second one is whether or not you'll dispose of it and how and all the rest of it, that we should do that. Because I think that most pertinently, it's the fact that we don't need to just make the case as to why we think that these things are surplus, but we need to then go to the public and let the public comment, which is 3.3, and then consider any submissions made in response by the public in 3.3.2. And instead, we're jumping the gun and going straight to disposal. And I'm particularly concerned because at least one of the items, being Serpentine Road, I already know from previous discussions with the public that this is something that they fought very hard not to have disposed 20 years ago. And I don't see why we would be instructing to prepare further items for disposal when we haven't gone through, A, the process of satisfying ourselves if it's suitable for disposal, and then B, speaking to the public about our intentions to do so. And I made this point last time, and I'll make it again. Our land register online is still dated September 2022, which means that the public still doesn't know that some of the land that's under consideration is under consideration. So Lloyd Avenue only appears for the first time in the public's eye in this list today. They had no prior knowledge that that piece of road reserved was even considered part of our estate up for grabs, and there are other parcels as well. And I've asked several times for us to adhere to our statutory obligations of keeping that register up to date, and instead we seem to be blithely careening towards let's see how much of this we can dispose of. And I just don't think, I don't think that we can, because we haven't gone through the right process, and I don't think we should, because we're not giving the public the opportunity to comment on these parcels first.
Councillor Lane, I procedurally I disagree with your characterisation of what we're doing in this report, which is seeking to categorise each of them before they're brought to council for consideration. Then at that point would have to go to the public. In line with the policy that's been adopted by council. You made commentary around Lloyd Avenue. That was a resolution of council, and that has been brought to council and to the public before and was debated in chambers. So there's a lot of history there that you might not be aware of. There's a lot covered there, and it didn't really form a question, but I will give the General Manager the opportunity to talk to the report, because I think he will take my view that is not the intent. The assertions you made are not the intentions in the report, and there is no inconsistency with the policy that I can identify. So, General Manager.
If I can distill it to a single question, why haven't we gone through 3.1 and 3.3?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll answer that question. 3.1 and 3.3, was it, Councillor? They will go through those things when we report back to council. That's the process. During the reporting back to council, as we say in recommendation 2, we prepare a report in line with the policy, and all those steps will be followed. I can't be clearer than that. I don't read it the same way that you read it, Councillor Lane.
Councillors, is there any other speakers for the motion? A question, Councillor Vergara.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I understand this report, and the reporting officer is here. This report does not make any recommendation about designating any of these remnant land for surface to requirements. Is that right?
Correct.
It classifies them as remnant in its title.
Councillors, any speakers against the motion? Councillor Williams.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I find the interpretation or the statements in relation to two in the recommendation a little bit out of kilter with my reading of it. It's pretty clear here that such reports, if you went on to read the rest of the recommendation, such reports to detail disposal methodology and valuation advice together with assessment of each parcel of land against council sale for remnant policy. To me, to make that quantum leap to detail and disposal and also evaluation is a quantum leap, as Councillor Lane has mentioned, in terms of the policy which we've agreed to. The other problem I see with this is the expense of going through valuations prior to making any decision on whether we think it's worthwhile to dispose of. And if you look at there aren't any definitions in the report, which make it very hard to understand what we're actually talking about. We talk about undeveloped and developed road reserves. What does that mean, and what is the issue in relation to the community? There's no financial plan here as to what's expected to be gained or how we're going to use those funds. We talk about on extra C, we've already made the decision these parcels of land are underutilised. Who did that and on what basis? So to me, this report provides no detail that's necessary for this council to make a sound and valid decision. It also, as Councillor Lane has pointed out, is heading down a path which I think is a step too far when we should be following the policy as it is written.
Councillor Williams, just to clarify, we're not making any determination. We're receiving and noting a report and noting that a further report will be brought to council. So I just don't, I can't for the life of me understand how we couldn't go through that process if we were going to make an informed decision on any remnant land, or whether or not council doesn't want to dispose of that land.
Well, I'd be happy to delete the rest of the sentence after A, B, C, and D, such reports, because the such reports states what these reports will be, and they're the next stage of the process. And to spend money on this stage and not actually have an agreement that we want to sell these parcels.
But that is what we'd be determining at the time, Councillor Williams. Councillor Prieston.
Ask a question through
Yes,
you, Mr.
you
Mayor, to Jeff or the General Manager. If this recommendation is passed by council tonight, is there a scope for council to recategorise parcels of land based on the information that's brought back to council in the relevant reports?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the only way to do that is through reporting to council, and then whatever mechanisms required, whether that's a planning proposal.
Sorry, just to clarify what I mean, I don't mean recategorise as in reclassify the land. I mean in the annexures, in those broad categories.
Yes, I mean that's the whole reason to bring back reports. And I just make a comment in relation to valuations. If we don't have some structure around evaluation when I bring a report back, it's no use going down the track of doing something and saying this is a piece of remnant land that you want to sell if it's not worth anything, and wasting more staff time on those matters. We've done a lot of ad hoc stuff over the last few years. We've got to get a structure around this. The policy and the reporting back based on this report gives us the structure to look at what is available, what can be classified as remnant land and agreed by council, and the process followed. It then allows us to build that into our long-term financial plan, which is really important. And where will it be used? It'll be used in infrastructure, community infrastructure, parks and reserves, road upgrades, community facilities. Now, if we want those things done, we have to do something and find income sources. This is one of our major income sources. I can't be clearer than that.
Councillor Prieston.
Could I speak for the motion?
You may.
Thank you. I understand Councillor Williams' comment about, removing the words after A, B, C and D in a sense. but having just heard the general manager explain that what we would be voting on this evening is not definitive in any way, I too would, I think it's beneficial to the decision makers to have all of the information presented to them, and I don't see another way of being able to do that unless we decide to obtain land valuations for each of these parcels of land, because that's a key, I guess, trigger for the actual decision to sell a parcel of land, is the value, but also its benefits or proposed or expected benefits to the community. So I think without all of the information, I don't see how we could do steps 3.1 and 3.3. I think we need the information, but I understand what you're saying. I wouldn't want to be making any definitive decisions about which parcels fall within which categories, because in a way it's the chicken or the egg. We can't necessarily categorize them into these 4 broad categories without all the information, but then we kind of need to categorize them in order to do the due diligence and get the reports on value and get the reports on underutilization or utilization in general, or prospective uses for the land or not, if we don't proceed to undertake this broad categorization and assessment piece. So while I understand, I feel confident that we're not actually making any concrete decisions here tonight, aside from allowing the council to do the digging into these parcels of land.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Question?
Back to my original comment on page 16, annexure C. You talk about here remnant land that is considered underutilised. Why isn't that explained and defined here? It's just a couple of words that somebody said. There's no basis for categorising those particular parcels as underutilised.
Probably it'd be very useful to get a further report which details all of that, which is what this motion does. It does. Part two of the motion, councillor. Yep. Such reports detail disposal methodology valuations with other assessment of each parcel of land against the remnant lands policy, which does identify all of those various categories.
Anyway, I'm not going to get anywhere with that line because you seem to have made your mind up. But in terms of, can I ask a question of the acting general?
Yes,
manager?
you may. Yep.
His comments, well, maybe I got it wrong, but I'd be happy for him to clarify. But his comments were pretty clear that we have to sell land, and we're on a process to sell land. I would have thought under the policy we have to establish a need to sell a land before we actually sell it. Are you saying that we need to, we are going to sell land? Because that's the sort of impression you gave me, that this is going to happen.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't say we're going to sell land. I said we're going to assess it and council will determine whether we sell the land.
I heard the words we have to.
What I'm saying that we know there's needs in the community that are significant. We have on our books a new library that needs to be built, and we need to fund that library. This is one avenue of getting funding to do that. So if you want to deliver those new community assets and you want to upgrade other things that we've got on our books, then you'll need to look at this as one source of income and agree or disagree whether you actually do ever sell anything. So it's not up to me to say we sell it. It's up to the council to say where you sell it. There'll be reports brought back on every single item, addressing the policy and all the criteria in the policy, and then you can make very informed decisions.
Thank you. Councillor Lane, question?
Yeah, look, I had a question in relation to that, which is when the long-term financial plan was passed, I had concerns that it looked so poor, and was given an undertaking that we would be doing a workshop to talk about that. We still don't have any real figures about the capital costs for any of these large projects. We haven't had a workshop on the long-term financial plan. We haven't talked about operational expenses. In fact, we're going to go through an item very shortly which just shows how much extra money we're going to be spending, it is, again, a concern for me that we're jumping into sale of lands without that. So I guess my question is, when are we going to have this workshop on the long-term financial plan?
Councillors, Mr Mayor, we're working through the annual statements at the moment. That's number one priority, to get them finished by September. So we'll be looking at October or early November.
October or November, okay. And I'll also note, sorry, that in relation to Councillor Williams' comment about whether or not we can classify the land as surplus, it is very clear in the policy that before council makes a determination about whether land is surplus, we do need to go to the public. And so by putting in this report that some land has been determined as being surplus, incidentally or not, we're jumping the gun contrary to 3.3 by saying that it's surplus before we've checked with the public whether or not it is.
Councillor Lane, I will have to disagree with you again, because nowhere in the recommendation does it classify anything as surplus. It is in the report, but this council must pass a resolution to determine anything of the sort. So I can only take you to the Act, which says that has to be formalised by resolution of council, which this is not. And that is consistent with the policy. Councillors, any further discussion? Councillor Vergara, question?
No. I want to speak to the motion. I commend the reporting officer. This is a fantastic report. I can see that a lot of work was done into it. It is a necessary precondition to understand the history, zoning, titling, utility services of each of these pieces of land. That is a necessary precondition to then go and apply the policy. There is nothing in the plain English of this paper which presupposes any of the considerations in the sale of land policy. None. Surplus is not in there. Underutilised is not a definition or finding of surplus to requirements. So I do not understand what this is about. This is a great paper. It's the transparency that former councillor Sanderson, Astley and Quinn were asking for. List of the remnant land, and it goes further and puts down the information about its title, history and potentials. That's what's needed to then make any consideration and application of the remnant land sale policy. So I commend the reporting officer. But now, following on from that, as this is a precondition, question through you, Mr Mayor, for the General Manager. General Manager, in June of this year, Councillor Lane posted a reel on his Instagram page with the headline, "Do you want your street sold?" My question is there any basis, given this report, for the suggestion that council is engaged in the secret sale of any residential streets?
Through you, Mr Mayor, there's no secret sale of any streets. Anything that would be sold would need to go through the policy that council's adopted.
Thank you.
Councillors, any further discussion on this item? Councillor Kassab, right of reply? No? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried with the dissent of Councillors Lane and Williams. We now move to item 4.3, proposed electric vehicle charging infrastructure in Henley. There is a recommendation on page 21 of the report. Councillor Prieston. Moved to the report. Seconded, Councillor Tanu-Sleeman. Councillor Williams, I know that you've raised that you want to go into confidential on this.
Well, no, there is a confidential matter that has to precede the resolution of this one.
Yes.
Even if we agree with the confidential item, we still have to deal with it prior to this item, I would have thought. Is that right, Mr. General?
Just to note the details, yes.
Yes. So would you like to, why don't we move a motion to go into closed session? Sorry, Councillor Lane, you got a question?
Oh, it was just about the details of the location. It can wait.
Yeah, so we might go into closed session if that is okay. Councillor Williams, are you comfortable moving to closed session? Seconded. Councillor Kassab, all those in favour? Against? I'll do that again. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. We'll shut the video off. We'll be right back and we've made a determination.